All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to send out the old Discord announcement once I have that YouTube link, and we'll get started with this podcast. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Beautiful. Let's get the link. Copy that one. Paste that one. And we are good to go. All right, very good. Back in the Town Hall channel. And I'll cue us in right now. All right, so all the dust has settled from BlizzCon 2023. People might still be nursing hangovers all across California and maybe other parts of the world. But my goodness, did the classic players get some news? And it was quite the, I think it's fair to say, bombshell of an announcement for what's coming next for us. I watched along live with a boatload of Countdown listeners and just got really more and more excited the more information I got, and I am full on team Season of Discovery right now. I know not every classic player is necessarily on board with what was announced, but the vibe I'm getting from reading through the forums and tearing through the subreddit and everything is that the majority of people are very excited and very pleased with this and are maybe cautiously optimistic about the future of what's to come, given that we don't really know that much. So what can we do with how little we know? How about we get two guests in on the show who were there at BlizzCon 2023. They went through the line. They sat and played the demo multiple times on multiple classes. And I wanted to just take the time now to give a bit of an extended review of what was played, because obviously the vast majority of you listening at home were not there at BlizzCon and unable to play this BlizzCon only demo. So let's introduce our guests. You all know him. You all love him. Our friend from up north, Ale. Mate, how are you?
Doing well. I feel jet lagged even though I'm in the same time zone. I think it just might be the Hilton wearing on me.
Yeah. Did you get stuck into a few drinks?
Oh yeah, definitely did.
That's the way. And joining Ale, we've got our friend, and I think it's fair to say now it's somewhat regular contributor, Zim. Mate, how are you?
Doing well. Actually, just got home maybe about an hour or two ago, so I'm ready to go.
Wow, very good. How's your hangover?
Oh, dude, working on it.
That's the way. All right, guys. Look, we've got a fair bit to cover, but it's not like we're in a rush or anything. I do have so many questions, and we'll just sort of see where the conversation takes us. But if you'll humor me somewhat, I do want to talk about BlizzCon on the whole, but I think I'm going to park that until the end of the conversation. Look, normally I'd start out with all the floaty stuff and be like, oh, tell me what you thought of BlizzCon and what you think of the other announcements and what was the vibe like and how are the parties and all that stuff. But let's do all that at the end, and let's maybe cut to the chase in, anti-countdown fashion and just go straight into the demo impressions and what you thought of what you played. So, Ale, I might start with you and just sort of say, talk to us about, jumping in the queue to get on the demo. Was it a long wait? Once you got in, did they just group you up with obviously everyone that you sat down next to? And what was your first inkling on what to play?
Yeah, so for me, it was a little bit of a different experience because we actually joined up with like a big portion of our guild from Classic at BlizzCon. So every time I played the demo, it was all 10 people that I know. Our raid leader was actually there. We had our main tank Clevis there. Our friend Clevis.
My crush, Clevis, yes.
Absolutely. Handsome as ever. And so like that was a bit different. Initially starting out, the lineup was actually pretty full the first day. So much so that at times it was spilling out of kind of the barriers and things like that. They had to have like extra people there to kind of control it.
Oh, so it's the most popular ride at Disneyland.
Well, you actually have no idea because on the second day they removed a bunch of the retail demo and added classic to it.
You're fucking joking. Are you serious?
Dead serious. Yeah.
Wow.
But to be fair, the retail demo was only like, I think it's an upcoming or current patch. So right. I think people were like less excited to play that. Obviously, if it had been like the expansion or something, it would have been more popular, I think. But yeah, definitely And I know towards the end of the first day as well, we tried to get in, and they actually closed it early, like around 4:30, because they said the line was so long that they wouldn't be able to finish when the con ended at 7.
So how long were people saying they were waiting?
I'm not sure because we only got in once, and that was on the first day.
Right. Okay.
But the second day it was definitely quite a bit faster. I don't think we waited more than probably 15 or 20 minutes, I'd say. Zim, what was your experience like for that?
I didn't get in at all on the first day, but I went through 4 times on the second day.
So Zim, did you walk by the queue on the first day and just say fuck that?
Oh yeah, I saw it and I was like, hopefully it dies down, and then it never did, and I was like, all right, well, I'll just kind of fuck off then.
I wish I would have linked up with you, because if you were a solo player, it was actually a lot of times where they were calling solo players to the front of the line.
Yeah, that's the only way I went through 4 times the second day, unless it was like after 3:30 or 4 o'clock on the second day, there's maybe like 10 people online at a time. So just like, oh, I'll just breeze through this, like fast pass it, you know?
Yeah.
That's really interesting to hear. I'm glad that, obviously the excitement was quite noticeable on the floor.
The hype was real.
Well, I was going to say, just, I'll talk about this, like I said, at the end, but one really quick thing. It's good to know that hype translated into anticipation in people wanting to play the demo, because Ale, I take from what you said about them adding more stations for the classic demo on the second day. I think, because I went back and watched the presentation now, the What's Next panel, the hour-long one that we got with the whole, not the whole team, but a bunch of people from the team. And you can visibly see at multiple points with multiple presenters how taken aback they are by the positive reception. Like, sorry, that's maybe the wrong way to say it, but like, they're generally like, oh my God, like the crowd was pumped and the crowd was huge for that panel. And the presenters were like, whoa, like this is crazy. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in there for that panel too, and I was, everybody was in there losing their voice whenever they said anything except for Cataclysm.
All right, guys, look, let's get into the moment that you logged in. You sit down, you're about to, fire up on day one with the guildies, your first ever go of Season of Discovery. What's the first thing that you're thinking as you're going through the classes? What did you want to play, and what did you wind up playing?
Yeah, so our very first run through, all of us just kind of picked our mains. Mm-hmm. So I went Warrior, Clevis went Warrior, and we had Faye on Shaman and things like that. So it was kind of like, let's see what new tools we have. So I went Warrior. I was off tanking, so I went with all the different tank runes and things like that. And yeah, we basically progressed from there. I think I used Warbringer, T-Clap, and Devastate. Yeah, those were the 3. And sorry, did you want me to go in like my experience with it as well, or?
Yeah, so we'll basically we'll get there right now. But I was just going to say, at that early juncture, I understand, I probably would have done the same thing, just go with a class that I know the best. But what else were you really, really tempted by that first time that you ultimately said, no, I'll just go Warrior?
Definitely I wanted to play Mage and mess around with what Heal Mage was like. At that point, I didn't really have any other classes that I was interested in playing. My actually initial reaction to the announcement was not good. As you know, in the Discord in the last couple of weeks, I've been debating and talking with everybody in your latest cast, and I had outright come out and said that I wouldn't play a Classic Plus with sweeping class changes, right?
And yet,
and so the announcement came out, and I'm like, this isn't what I want. This isn't for me. And I was actually like, kind of like, well, I'm here. I'll play it. Let's give it a try, see what it's like. The first time through, I still didn't really warm up to it. I just felt like a lot of the abilities were very off. As far as feeling like classic, I think I actually messaged you on. You asked me in one word describe the demo, and I said Wrath of the Lich King. Right? Because that's kind of what it felt to me, is like all these Wrath abilities in classic, but it did actually feel, the gameplay did feel classic. It's just that all the abilities, it was like a whiplash for me, right? It's just super weird to have Warbringer, and I was actually really bothered by it and like really conflicted, like when I left the con the first day, because I was like,
So if I can dive in,
it was such a shock.
Yeah, if I can dive in on that, and then I'll throw it to Zim, and we'll talk about a similar thing, Zim, on just like your sort of overall generic impressions, how you felt going into it, and sort of how you felt those first few steps and what class you wanted to play. But Ale, I'm glad you are here on that note, because I think what you went through is rather indicative of what a lot of people went through. I was the same. I wouldn't say I wouldn't go as far as saying I was down when it was first announced, but I was very, very neutral. I was like, I don't know what's happening here. I am super confused. I'm certainly not excited. I just don't know what I've been told. And then we got the panel, which actually explained everything. And, you know, I started heading in a northerly direction and going, okay. And it's still happening to this day. You know, the 3 days since BlizzCon, I've just been trying to tear through as much information as I can, and everything more I learn gets me more excited. So if I can ask you, Ale, what happened maybe after you slept on it on the first night? What changed it where you started to get actually vastly more excited?
So for me, a lot of it was the realization that with playing the demo, that everything had been kind of given to you, right? There was no really progression because you're chucked into the demo. And so this was something that was kind of really baked in, that I felt like I was a little bit allergic to, where, you know, you're kind of given everything, right? And so I was thinking about it more, and after watching the panel and them talking about, you know, how you're going to find these things, and you're going to do quests, and you're going to find them in the world, and you're going to group up, and they may not all be like straightforward, like a, you know, Season of Discovery, you're going to have to maybe work a little bit, or
you might have to die. There might be an NPC you chat to when you're dead. You know,
gosh, like I hope not. Oh, that opens up so much design space for them. Please don't do that. Like I actually, like, that is like kind of like another form of progression for your character, and that started to like really appeal to me in a sense, because if you think about it, it's kind of like a bunch of mini little class quests, right? It's like a locked alarm, but you like do a thing for a skill, right? And you can kind of hunt out the ones you want. It like that started to like kind of like you know, percolate in there. Like, this actually seems pretty cool.
While I remember, sorry, just to drag you off on a tangent. I'm so sorry, Zim. I promise I'm getting to you, mate. We're going to hear from you in bulk. But
no, you're good, man. I'm here.
Ale, one thing has been digging at me the last few days. Now, I'm not sure if this thought has dawned on you, and I'm not the dickhead that's like, oh, you know, the things we say on the podcast come to fruition, or shit like that. Like I threw out the joke about, you know, calling it Season of Discovery 8 months ago. And yeah, you know, I had a bit of fun on Twitter going, I called it, but I'm not going to be that fuckwit that's like, you know, fucking mate, yeah, give me full credit. Like it's just all a joke. But then on the podcast, you know, 4 or 5 months ago, or it might not have been that long, it might have been 3 or 4 months ago, I can't remember. It was some time ago. I vividly remember a certain, Canadian friend of the show named Ale going into detail about, wouldn't it be fucking amazing if in them designing new content, they came up with these epic quest chains for new abilities. And we all said, wow, that's a fucking great idea. And then this gets announced. Did you think back to that moment at all?
I actually didn't. Did I say that?
You did. Can I? So that's the I knew you would have fucking forgotten. I fucking knew it. So let me slap you on the back a little bit here, because look, again, I'm not.
You
I'm
better
not
not
going to
be
come
going
out.
where I
No,
think you're
I'm not
going
going
with
to come
this.
out and go like Ale came up with
Yeah.
this idea. I'm not. Like I've said, I really want to stress
No
that
way.
we're not the fuckwits that do that. But I can't still help but laugh about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Yeah, that's cool.
It's.
You know,
I think it's.
stop clock is right twice a day, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it, in all honesty, it was the right idea. It's let's flesh out this world, and they want the classes to play differently. Oh, they want some new abilities. Let's make the fuckers earn it by adventuring. And I think it was the right call.
Yeah, could I touch a couple on like one more thing about what kind of also brought me around?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like I kind of had like a, I don't know if this is the right expression. I use the wrong expressions all the time. But it was almost like a come to Jesus moment when I was like laying in bed and thinking about it, where like what have I done in Classic? Like I've done pretty much everything at like the most extreme level I could, right? So this is something new. This is something that seems interesting. Like why am I so like why did I feel so against it? And so I was thinking about it, and the more that I thought about it at that level, that this is going to be like a newer twist, the more, the more excited I got about it.
Very good.
And I think a lot of people, there are a lot of people who really like just that experience, and it's something that I had mentioned before, where, I really actually liked having mastery and improving my mastery over, classes and mechanics and the raids and everything we already experienced before.
Yep.
But I think I'd pretty much maxed out on that. And what more would there be to do, right? So I think this is, this is
your
the
body
thing,
was ready.
so.
Your body was ready. Zim, mate, thank you for being so patient. Let's throw it over to you. Look, we'll get you on the soapbox for a while here now as well, and just say, I'll take you back to that moment where you do pull up the chair at the demo for the first time. You log in, you get ready to go. What class did you pick? Why? What did you want to pick? But sort of come back to on day 2 maybe. And what were your thoughts on just generically on that first playthrough?
Yeah, so that second day, I made a beeline as soon as the doors opened, straight over to the demos, and they told us hey, you 10, you're a group, because it was I went there solo anyways, and it was me and another guy. He went by the name of Mox, and he was like, I'm gonna be a warrior, and I was like, cool, I'll do the shaman tank, and I was a shaman back in Classic when it came back out. And I was like, it would be cool if this actually could tank, because when I was on Bigglesworth, we had a one shaman tank try to tank all of AQ40, and it was hilarious. But with the changes, like with the Shield Mastery, Way of Earth, and Molten Blast, those runes, I was skeptical when they did the initial announcement. I was like, that's not what anybody was expecting. Don't really know what to think. And then I slept on it, and I was still like, oh, maybe going out and finding stuff in the world, that'll make it a challenge, because it's not just handed to you like the demo. Kind of like what Ale was saying, is it's just another part of the game where, hey, if you want to be this spec or you want to do this thing with your class, you need to go find these runes wherever they are. And since there's no, data mine or PTR or anything like that, it's going to be an actual, it's going to be a more difficult time, and it's that feeling of unknown. And actually, Rolo or Mev in the audience is the guy I played with randomly. What's up, dude?
Oh, wait, he's here?
Yeah, he's in the audience.
Oh, all right. Well, fuck, Rollo, if you want to talk, you're more than welcome to, mate. Just let us know. Click to put your hand up. Sorry, keep going, Zim. There he goes. Hang on, he's coming in. Let's reunite you guys. Hey, Rollo, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. How you going, man? Thanks for joining.
Very well, thanks.
We've had your name come up.
Yeah, Galley Boy, he actually told me that Zim was in here, because I messaged him. I was like, I was playing with Zim, and he's like, holy shit.
Yeah, dude,
when we got done is when he told me his name was Zim, and I was like, I know that name.
Oh, very good. We'll hear from you in a second, man. Zim, finish off what you were saying, and we'll piggyback off of that.
Yeah, no, it was basically went in there as a shaman tank, and I had the tanking. I keep wanting to call them glyphs because that's exactly what they remind me of.
Yeah.
But the runes, Shield Mastery, Way of Earth is the primary one, and then Molten Blast just for extra threat. The only thing about the shaman I felt was that it was a bit mana starved the entire time,
Yeah.
and I was like drinking every pull, like an old school paladin. But other than that, like it felt great. Like it felt like it was kind of fleshed out and wasn't that big deal. I mean, obviously, biggest part I mentioned earlier was finding the runes so your class can actually do the thing you want it to do. But yeah.
Mate, I've definitely got a lot of questions about that, so we'll come to that soon. Rollo, sorry, tell us about your experience, mate, having heard what the guys have had to say.
I absolutely loved it. I'm one of those players that I'm really all in all the time. I've been playing WoW since it came out. And same thing, day one was you couldn't get into that line. And I think it was a smart call when they split half the retail because everybody's done 10.2 on PTR. So it's kind of pointless having it there. So when they split half of that for the Classic, we got to go pretty often. I actually went 7 times on Saturday.
Wow.
Really, really enjoyed it.
That's amazing. I love it. So wait, you might have said it before. What did you play that first time?
So I played Warrior 3 times. I tanked twice and then went DPS the last time. And then I tested out Paladin, Druid, Priest, and then Hunter.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, well, look, we'll cover everything. Fuck, Ale, this guy loves Warrior more than you.
Doubt it.
All right, guys, let's get into it. Look, I've watched now a couple of streams, obviously, that took place on the floor of this 10-man raid of Blackfathom Depths. I always forget, is it Deeps or Depths? Deeps. No, Depths. Fuck, I don't know. Either way.
It could be dungeon.
So, Ale, let's start with you on the warrior, the DPS warrior. Now, this is going to pique my interest. I'm more interested in tanking, but still, like, I'm.
No, I was tanking.
Oh, you were tanking the first time around.
I was tanking.
Okay, beautiful. Yep. All right, this is even better. I'm sitting here over the last 48 hours going, fuck. Druid, warrior, shaman, Druid, warrior, shaman. So, this is one of the classes that I'm very interested in hearing about. Just to lead you in with a bit of a preamble that you can either say, agree or disagree with. A bunch of the chatter about warrior from the little that we've seen, and I should say, by the way, to everyone listening along, please understand that everything we're about to talk about is based off of so fucking little information. We know barely anything about what's coming in Season of Discovery. I see so many people in the subreddit like making life decisions over the sliver of information we got at BlizzCon. Like, mate, the runes and everything you saw are just for level 25. There is a boatload more coming in the later levels. Just keep your mind open and remain flexible, people. Don't solve the meta off of what you fucking saw already. I feel like we're going to say that a few times, but I just really want to lay that down and throw it out there. Ale, a lot of people are saying about Warrior that it doesn't seem like they did anything too wild with Warriors, that it's just a lot of damage buffs. They haven't messed around too much with the mechanics. Okay, you get a few TBC or Wrath abilities. There's that one new ability as well, but it doesn't feel like they've changed the gameplay of Warrior much. How do you feel about that? How did it go in the dungeon? And did you feel like it was an improvement?
I mean, I actually struggled on Warrior, and part of it was there was a bug in the demo that Shadow Priests, one of their ability would put an armor debuff on a mob, and then your Devastate wouldn't work. So I struggled with threat quite a bit. We also discovered pretty early that hunters were super, super overpowered with a certain set of runes. And I just couldn't hold threat. We'll
go into it. What were the runes? What were the runes that were dicking with your threat for the hunter?
So they could stack. The 3 that they did was Lone Wolf, which gives you, I think, a 30% damage bonus if you don't have a pet.
Yep.
The second one was the one where if you stand still for 6 seconds, you gain 30% increased critical strike chance.
Yep.
And then the final one was Chimera Shot.
So they were fucking pumping.
Yeah. Our hunter was reporting crits for over 800 up to I don't know for sure, but over 800 he said he was critting for. So it's
Level
like
25.
yeah, that's a boatload. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I think characters in the demo only had like that many hit points, so it was like in PvP that would like one shot somebody basically.
Right.
So they were pumping, and I mean, like I was playing with Onslaught as well, so these guys are all like
Yeah, they know
straight up
how to
pumper
play the game.
chads, so
Yeah.
I really felt I struggled with rage problems, and so thinking about it, threat and rage problems. So thinking about it more, I would probably actually switch up my runes next time to try it.
What did you
maybe
go with?
end
Sorry, which ones did you go with initially?
Devastate, Thunderclap, and I think Warbringer.
Right, which is probably the standard tanking build that most people would have been
Yeah.
looking at. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd actually probably swap that up in the future and either get some more of the extra attacks or maybe try to work an endless rage or something
The
instead.
extra, or the extra damage, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I was always rage starved. If stuff isn't hitting you, you're not really getting much rage. Really, the whole point that like dual wield tanking was like invented in the first place, where if you're super tanky as a warrior and you're avoiding everything, you don't have enough rage to do threat ability, so you lose that. It's kind of the same problem at the lower level, where I just feel like I never had enough rage to keep up with all these hunters and everything popping off, and then Devastate wasn't working. So
What do you mean by
it
it
was
wasn't
just
working?
like yeah, it wasn't working.
It
'cause
wasn't
of a
keeping
bug.
threat. Oh, there was a bug.
Yeah, we reported it.
Oh, okay.
You couldn't apply it if there was a stronger armor debuff on the
Oh,
the
right,
mob.
right. Sorry, yep.
And so like I was just basically running around taunting stuff, and then losing it as soon as it was over. Trying to build up rage and do stuff after the taunt, but it was super rough. So that might have also led to me not enjoying it after the first day. That it sucked. It was brutal.
I'm a warrior tank and I can't hold threat. This is broken.
Yeah. So, but like as you said, take everything with a grain of salt. I know they definitely mentioned that they're going to be looking at all the data from the demo, and they may do some tweaks.
I've got no
I don't
doubt.
know what that means, but I imagine that they're probably going to, work on outliers and stuff. And one of the really cool things that I noticed with a lot of the rune changes they made is that they weren't really nerfing anything, but they were kind of raising the floor on other things. Like, for example, hunters, like they added quite a bit of damage for them, right, with those abilities. So I think that's a pretty interesting way to do it. Classes that are strong stay strong, but everybody gets to feel powerful too at some point.
Very good. Rollo, mate, let me throw it over to you. We've got Parallax in chat dying to know the answer to this question, and to be honest, I am as well. Rollo, I take it in one of your 3 playthroughs of Warrior, you tanked, yeah?
Yeah, I tanked twice.
Beautiful. Excellent. So we're getting questions about how is the AoE threat situation. Obviously, they've done stuff with Thunderclap. How did you feel? Did a lot of what Ale just say resonate with you? And what was your take on Warrior tanking and maybe even the AoE situation?
So with all of my groups, it was completely pug. I didn't know any of the other 9 players. So we definitely didn't have any min-maxes, which I'm sure will make a big difference like he did. With ours, it felt like your traditional pugs. You got people who knew what they were doing, some people were not. Right off the bat, when me and Zim did it, we noticed Shaman threat was a lot stronger single target. So realizing that, I tried to pick up an off tank on those. I don't feel like we had any issues with threat as far as with Thunderclap and Demo Shout. They worked very well. Obviously, being in D stance helped. The taunts cooldown's not very high, so we didn't have any like mobs running around like crazy. But I also don't think we had any like his hunters and stuff like that were pulling really hard.
Critting for 800.
Our group seemed to go pretty casual.
Yeah.
We were able to clear it, so that was a big win. It's mostly just learning the mechanics, but threat wise, and especially like on the boss and stuff, we pretty much, we swapped on, the 4 stacks on I think it was the second boss. But I mean, other than that, it's pretty smooth. I felt good. I liked Warbringer. I really enjoyed it. You randomly have a hunter that would, tab target or a pet that would pull something. Being able to charge over there and get there quicker, I really enjoyed that part, being able to have that.
How'd you go? How'd it feel tanking like trash?
Trash felt fine. I mean, our group thankfully we didn't have, DPS trying to pull for us. They were very respectful and stayed behind the tanks, which is pretty cool to see. A lot of pugs, you don't have that. They want to control the pace. So, I mean, we were able to, like I said, it was nice though, watching having the healers have mana. That's why it felt like classic. Because it wasn't like with like retail and stuff where people don't lose anything. You just go. You go, 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 go. This, I mean, you had to watch the mana. When the mana was low, you had to stop, let them drink. Same thing with the shaman. When Zim needed a drink, he had a drink. But also, if I was good and healer was good and he needed to drink a little bit, I was able to pull and keep all three. And when he needed to come over, he could swap with me. So it was a really nice tempo that we had going.
As a tank and watching that tempo, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering as well, did it feel like Ale said, look, even though he got an initial Wrath vibe, he said it still kind of felt and drove like Classic. Did you feel that Classic tempo despite the new abilities in the dungeon, like you say, waiting for mana and whatnot, or did you find things were a bit quicker?
No, I felt like it had the same Classic feel to it. The bosses definitely didn't just fall over. You had to learn the mechanics, which was really fun. Being in BFD, which we've probably all done hundreds of times, that was exciting, being in there and be like, okay, what is this? What is this boss doing? And then you started, the community started talking when people heard certain things and testing some things out. Like I seen a different strat for the first boss 3 different times. And it was really exciting to see everybody come together. But it definitely was nice and slow. They gave you about 45 minutes to do it. Some of our groups we finished with about 4 minutes left. And then some of our groups, time was running out when we were on the third boss. And that's only the third boss after 45 minutes. Now, as people get better gear, they know their stuff a little bit better. I'm sure they'll be able to push that faster. But 45 minutes, 3 bosses, that felt like Classic to me.
Very good. Zim, mate, let's throw it over to you. Look, I'm glad that we've got 3 guys here that sort of picked tank straight up as soon as he sat down for the demo, because the joke is kind of already going around that it's season of tanking. We've got so many more tanking options. Blizzard is really trying to give people a bit more flexibility in that regard. You played another tank that I'm incredibly interested in, but I have had reservations about. And to be fair, Zim, you're not really necessarily, and it's not your fault, mate, you can only review what you played. You're not necessarily selling me 100% on the Shaman tank, and a lot of people say they want to play Shaman tank, which is almost another little bit of a turn off for me. I don't just want to be sort of doing the thing that everyone is doing. But Zim, having heard what the Warrior tank said, how did it feel on Shaman tank? And I really want you to talk to me about that mana as well, because I watched a Shaman tank stream and yeah, mana seemed pretty fucked.
Yeah, so the runes I picked for it was Shield Mastery, which is just block, it regenerates mana. Way of Earth, which is basically whenever you have Rockbiter on, it deals 100% increased threat, and you gain 30% health and take 10% reduced damage, and 6% reduced chance to be critically hit by melee attacks. And it's your taunt, right? And then I went with Molten Blast on my gloves just for an off chance to have some AoE threat.
How did it feel? 'Cause if that's anything like Shockwave, I'm all in.
Yeah, so essentially it was kind of like it's like a Shockwave. It's more like a Cone of Cold, but it just increases a ton of threat, right? So it was very interesting. But as you went through, like if we had a pack of like 3 or 4, mobs or whatever, I was going to be by the end of that, no matter what.
Right.
But even when I was it felt like if I had, a Syrian totem down or, what's the other one? One of the other fire totems down, it was able like through melee hits and that totem, I was still able to hold threat. So if I would have gone with a different rune for gloves, like Ale said earlier in chat, if I would have gone with White Water Shield, then I probably could have had better mana control. But I didn't. I had like 5 minutes, select your runes and go. And so, but throughout the dungeon, like Rolo was saying, like whenever I needed to sit down and drink, like I'd get to like half mana and then I'd go into the pool and then stop again, drink. It was just like old school paladins and casters. Like you actually have a mana pool, you need to be very cognizant of it. I still fully intend on playing Shaman tank, just because it felt really smooth, except for the having to drink after each mob. But I feel like that'll get better towards the end game as I get to play the class a little bit more and actually see how it develops.
Did you get that impression, as Rob is rightfully reminding me in Discord, Did you get that impression that there was a flavor to Shaman tanking? Because they're clearly intending these tanks, and people are already kind of jumping on the train where they're like, oh, all the tanks are the same, and they've just given them generic, here's your single target, here's your AoE ability, here's your taunt, now fuck off. Now, the Classic team has sort of come out and said, no, we still want there to be a flavor to each tank in terms of maybe situational, selectiveness with who's doing what. Like you might in the same dungeon go, this would be a good one for a Shaman to tank. You might then go to the next boss and go, this would be a good one for the Warlock to tank, and so on and so forth. And Rob's saying that they said that Shamans were intended to be like, the physical tank and get some of their mana back as they're getting hit, like a Paladin would. And obviously and again, I'll stress this for the second time, a lot more to come at the higher levels. So, when I sit here and go like, oh man, you have to drink all the time, that mana pool is annoying. Hey, that might fucking change in 10 levels time. We just don't know. Did you get the impression that there was going to be like a difference between the tanks and a niche for Shaman tanking?
Yeah, so that definitely was kind of a feel that went around. Like, obviously, you have the traditional tanks. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, my dog's running around causing a mess.
You're right.
Yeah, I just definitely feel like there's going to be somewhat of a situation for like these new tanks, right? Like the Warlock tank. I talked to a few people who played it and a few of the other runs I went through, and some of them really liked it. Some of them were like, I don't know, man, that's a bit too weird for me, But we've had Warlocks tank before, like an AQ40 on Twin Imps. Like in that scenario, probably just going to be a stronger tank for that. Whereas your Shamans, if you're going up against a boss like Patchwork who just hits like a truck with Hatefuls, you probably don't want a Shaman tank for that. You probably want a plate wearer or somebody who's going to have an incredible amount of armor. But then again, that's speculating. They could scaling for this could match and it could be great, and we just don't know.
All right. I think Ale's going to gush over Warlock tanks eventually. We'll get there soon. But look, that's a great first impression. I guess it's easy to say, but like before we move on to another class or spec, I should say, Ale, just real quick, would you basically give Prop Warrior a thumbs up in your opinion at this stage?
For level 25, like I said, I struggled with it. It's really hard to say. Like I would need to try some different runes, I think. So like at this point, I'd probably say no, thumbs down.
Okay.
It's not going to stop me from playing Warrior, but I would definitely need to go back to the drawing board and figure out a way to do more threat. And a lot of it might just be them fixing Devastate to help. But like, hey, maybe dual wield tanking. I think the first run we did, I also didn't have a Feral, so I didn't have Wind Fury. That probably would have helped a ton as well for Rage. Maybe Endless Rage. I've got a lot of things percolating, and that's the cool thing about the season is that like you have options, right? There's all sorts. It's all sorts now. Figure something out that works, and that's really cool.
Very good. And I should stress, obviously, we're talking about like I'm asking the guys for sort of a review based off of maybe 45 minutes worth of gameplay at level 25. So just keep that in mind. Rollo, thumbs up, thumbs down for your Prop Warrior.
I'm saying thumbs up, but I agree they need to fix the bug because they really mess with Devastate. But I also think what he was saying as well is having like single-minded Fury, be able to have that on the gloves instead of Devastate. I mean, if we would have known. But that way we can dual wield, we'll have increased speed and we'll have increased damage. I think that would increase our threat and it would have been a lot of fun. Also at 25, you're probably not going to have a hit for it. But if they do fix that bug, I'm all in. Especially, I'm a big fan of Warbringer and be able to move around the map. So, but yeah, definitely thumbs up.
Very good. Zim, thumbs up, thumbs down, Shaman tank.
Oh, man, I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I just hope it continues to scale well.
That's the way. All right. Ale, what did you play next?
Sorry, I was on mute. I ended up playing Feral next.
Oh, baby, fucking talk to me. You played everything I wanted to play. Excellent. Now, early impressions, Feral Druid, hit me.
I mean, I had a lot of the same problems as Warrior, to be honest, which sucked.
So
I
you would
couldn't hold
you were
threat.
bear, not cat.
I was bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had trouble holding aggro. I had rage problems if I didn't have the reduced armor give you rage ability. Sorry, I'm a druid noob. Giving me rage, I often didn't have enough rage to hold aggro on mobs again. So, like I said, like I kind of hate saying this because people are going to think that they suck, right? Because I'm saying this, but realize that like we were abusing some stuff big time. So,
Oh yeah. Also, can I ask the question I have to ask the people at home might be asking Ale? Have you considered that maybe you're a shit tank?
could be, and so I think, I mean that might have something to do with it as well. But like I just didn't have rage to use my abilities, right? And there really isn't that many at that level. So like there's the single target like heroic strike equivalent. There's the like I think swipe, which hits multiple. It's like cleave, but it's an instant attack. It's not next attack.
Yep.
Things like that. And so yeah, I struggled a bit. We actually had a Warlock tank at that time who we ended up having him main tank and me off tank, and that helped quite a bit because he was able to hold threat a lot better and like picking up the ads. It was no problem.
All right. Any other notable things from Feral? Any things you particularly liked? Any runes you really liked or anything?
I mean, obviously, like Wind Fury is the big one,
Yeah.
right?
Everyone
The
loved
fact
you.
that they get that is pretty crazy. I think that's going to definitely make, well, it's going to take Ferals from zero to hero because now you want one that has that basically unkillable totem that just gives everybody Wind Fury, right? So that was huge. I'm trying to think of which other runes I had because, oh, actually, that was one thing that I could say was an improvement is that there wasn't actually a pant rune available at 25 for druids to use in tank form. The one that they had, because there's kind of one rune for each spec if you looked at it.
Yeah.
Well, with druids, they kind of have 4 specs, right? Heal, boomkin, cat, bear. The rune was, I think it's like ferocious roar, which only worked in cat form. So that was kind of maybe an oversight too. Yeah, I can't remember what I had on my pants. I think the other ones were very unique to the other specs. So you're effectively playing with only 2 runes at that point. So that was definitely a problem.
Right.
Let me just have all the runes here. I'm just going to look really quick and see what the other one was. So Wild Strikes is the Wind Fury. The Pant rune was Savage Roar. And then the third one was Lacerate. Yeah. Yeah, which was good.
All right. Zim, what did you play second?
Second I played it was the Healing Mage.
Oh, everyone wants to hear about this one. Please tell us what you thought of it.
Yeah, so for the runes, I went in with regen on the chest, regeneration on the chest, mass regeneration on the legs, and then I started with rewind time on the hands, or on the gloves, sorry. And then about halfway through, I switched over to Arcane Blast. So honestly, right off the rip, I had no idea what I was doing. It really reminded me of like the last, like being a healing dragon in the Oculus, the last boss in the Oculus. But overall, like, as I kind of learned it and kind of started playing it more, it was very, very smooth. I was a little surprised at how easy it was to kind of keep the group up and stuff. Except for that first boss in there when everybody's getting thrown everywhere. But once I switched over to Arcane Blast, it was even easier because using mass regeneration, it basically, I'm looking at the rune right now, 100% all the arcane damage done by the caster is converted to healing divided amongst the casters, your beacon targets.
And is that there's no like cooldown or time on that or anything, is there?
I don't.
I'm saying, is that just a rune you just pop on and it's just like that the whole time you're playing, or what?
No, so some of them are passive.
I think it lasts 30 seconds.
Yeah, it lasts 15 seconds for the mass regeneration. But some of them are just passive abilities, and then others are actual like spells that you have to. There's a whole new tab in your spell book for your runes. So it was smooth over time, and yeah, basically, I saw there was one suggestion in the Discord because as I was in line, I was like, "Hey, anybody want me to try anything specific?" And of course, Mage healing came up. And I was like, try doing like like only tank healing spec, and I was like, I don't know if I'm in a group with 9 other random people. I don't think they'd be cool with that. So I just went with I'll just kind of do raid heals and whatnot. So mass regen, it felt super good. As soon as I switched over to Arcane Blast from Rewind Time, oh, it was like the new. It felt like a, I don't know, Chain Heal Go Burr, except you're a mage.
Yeah, that's kind of one thing I wanted to touch on as well, and realize that we're only looking at a slice of the whole pie. But my initial feelings, only looking at this slice, which may not be indicative of anything at all, but we can only look at the slice we have, of course, is that for these classes that gained new roles, so Shaman tank, rogue tank, mage healer, I felt like it was enough for them to heal probably 5-mans, maybe off heal and raids, but it didn't feel like they had the whole package. And they might by end game, right? Because they give you, 2 or 3 heals at this slice. Maybe you get another one in the next slice, right? Well, but at least at this point, I feel like they probably wouldn't be good enough as you said earlier, for like, could a Shaman tank patchwork with what they have right now? I don't think so, right?
I find it super interesting because that's the exact point a lot of people are discussing on the subreddit right now with these classes that now have a new role. Is it sort of meant to be like, oh, okay, you say a rogue can tank and a warlock can tank, but are they kind of just like off tanks really at the end of the day? Like, yeah, you can tank a dungeon, but nothing too serious. Yeah, you can fill in a pinch as a mage healer, but, you wouldn't really want to be your main healer in your guild or something like that. And it's been interesting because Blizzard, I think, already has kind of pushed back on that lately in the interviews that I've heard, where they've been like, no, you can be the healer. You can be the tank. This is not a like, you're not moonlighting as a tank, as a shaman or a rogue. Like, you can be the guy if you want, which I find really interesting because you've obviously got the talent tree, the pre-existing talent trees that we all know and love sitting there. And if they do happen to go unchanged, like I've loved already the community breaking this down, going, well, actually, there's more for warlocks in affliction for tanking than you think. There's more for rogues in subtlety for tanking than you think, or whatever it might be. So the building blocks might be there, but I do wonder if there's something in the bricks and mortar of the class that might hold them back to the point that, yeah, we still do have to have a warrior main tank molten core or something. We don't know, and it'll be super interesting to find out.
Yeah, like I would really like them to kind of touch on the design philosophy behind this. Is if these classes that they added the new rules for, end game is the plan for them to be able to tank raids and things like that. Are they going to be equivalent at the highest level, or are they still going to be kind of niche tanks? Because I think that really, like you said, it may have been discussed in interviews a little bit, but I don't think that was really covered to know. And at least right now, because we can only, like I said, we can only see the slice that we have. Right now, it doesn't really look like it. They look totally capable, even really great for 5-mans in lower level, but can I throw my rogue up there to tank patchwork style fights?
Can I tell you? Can I tell you where the key will be? I reckon the secret sauce will be tier sets. I think they've already hinted at wild and wacky new tier sets for the new roles. So I think that will be the really interesting thing to discover if they've just given you like the ultimate power in your 2-piece from Molten Core or something that now. And it's interesting because people are already bringing up like, mate, rogues already have 85% fucking avoidance at level 60. Like, this is going to get silly. Like, we'll see what happens.
But like the reason that I kind of stress that is because like we have this one slice, and everybody's going to be making decisions that will last for years based on what we have from this slice. So
Yes.
a little bit extra on kind of the methodology behind what they're thinking, I think would go a long way. Because if somebody wants to, tank at endgame on Rogue, and then they're not going to after spending, a year going through all the different, level banded phases, I think they'll be pretty disappointed, right?
Yeah, I'll throw it to you other guys, and again, just on that, like I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I'm sorry, take a drink every time I say this, but we know so little, and it's so hard to discuss because we want to be nerds and we want to have fun and break down the very small preview that we've had, but also I don't want to be part of the problem and push people towards a choice of a main that like they make this decision going, oh, Ale made fucking, I don't know, Warlock tanks sound unbeatable on Countdown to Classic. I'm only going to play Warlock in Season of Discovery. Like, mate, slow your roll. We like play what you like, not, what you're hearing necessarily. But anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Zim, Rolo, sorry. How about you guys we just heard about Feral Druids. Did either of you tinker with Feral Druid at all?
No, I did.
No.
After I did the healing mage, I did a DPS mage and then arms warrior.
Okay, all good. Well, actually, before we go down what you played second, I really should invite you to comment on everything that Ale and I just quickly talked about. Zim, I'll throw it to you first, then we'll go to Rolo. How do you feel about that topic? And it's going to come up more and more over the next couple of weeks. How do you feel about that topic of will the new class role combinations be somewhat half-baked, do you think? Or do you think they'll have something up their sleeve to make this more than viable?
You know what? I'll actually, after playing the demo on a few other classes and whatnot, and seeing how pretty much fleshed out it was, and I know it's just like we keep saying, it's a small, slice of the greater pie.
Yeah, it's a small slice after all, something like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just going off of that, I have high hopes. I think that they'll be viable tanks. I mean, Warlocks in Metamorphosis have 500% increased armor. That's probably going to make a difference, especially if it scales, as you level up. And we just don't know what else is out there. I think Shamans, we can go down the whole conspiracy rabbit hole, but I think they're going to do a good job with it. Or at least, I'm hoping they do, because it seems like these new classes, it's a new way to play these classes, but they still feel like they're traditional class.
Okay. Rolo, I'll throw it to you, and let me add this little wrinkle in for you, Rolo, as a newcomer to the show. You can answer the tough ones. Do you feel there's value in opening up the tanking floor to being like, hey, we want all of the tanks to be considered the king of the tanks as opposed to just fucking warrior?
I think they're throwing out the option so that you can have more flexibility with your classes. Now, of course, that's not what Classic WoW is, but I personally feel like they are rolling into eventually having like a Classic Plus. And I say that because I think they're literally just going to be testing everything and see how it's received. Giving people more options to be able to run dungeons instead of sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. You have some people who enjoy Warlock, and in their interview, they talked about possibly changing tier sets, at 60, where they could possibly have a Warlock tank set. That kind of stuff is it throws something new at us where, people don't really know what this Classic Plus is. This is Classic. It's our game that we absolutely love, and they're adding more to it. To me, that's plus. And no matter what it is, it may not be something like everybody agrees with, but I think throwing all this stuff out there for us to test and play around with, that is eventually going to be Classic Plus. And I think, people love their certain classes. People are, diehards in certain ways, but giving them a little bit of options, a little bit more flavor just to play around with, I think it's awesome.
Can we make a bet that Warlock tanks are going to get a rune that spreads their dots to other targets like a Death Knight?
That'd be sick.
Ale, what do you reckon?
That's interesting. Not placing any bets.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because they could even do like with Warrior, just having Thunderclap spread like Rend or a Bleed Dot.
Spread bleeds, yeah. Okay, let's go to Zim. What you played second, mate?
Second I played was the healing mage.
Oh, sorry, we talked about that. Sorry, Rolo, I meant. Rolo, what'd you play second?
Protection Paladin.
Okay, very good. Thoughts?
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I think the Paladin is actually in a really, really good spot. I even talked with S fan about Ret Paladin, and he was completely excited about it. The reason I say this is because I feel like even at 25, you can go down either tree. You're obviously still going to be able to tank, and with these runes, you're going to be able to enhance it. So if you went down Holy, you could get probably Consecration. But then you could also have runes for Avenger's Shield. You could even have Hand of Reckoning for your taunt. And then have an Aegis as well, which increases your block value. You can go with that one. I went personally straight down Protection because I wanted to see how it worked stacking the shield block. And I really felt like I wasn't taking very little damage. The mana was really, really good. Threat was really, really good. I didn't really have to spam a whole lot. Of course, I had Judgment. I had Avenger's Shield. And going down just prod, I didn't have to spam a whole lot of mana on pretty much anything else. Now, looking back, if I really didn't need to have a single taunt, I could go with Crusader Strike if I wanted to. That way I can, having Righteous Fury up, I can judge one, I can Crusader Strike another mob. With Righteous Fury, it's still going to give me a whole lot of threat.
All right. So, I mean, I guess I think I can guess the answer, but was it fun to play?
All right. Instead of Aegis, you could also put in Divine Storm if you don't feel like you need that much block. Because when we're leveling up, these are leveling dungeons. Yes, there's that one raid at 25, but the rest of them are going to be pretty much dungeons. You could literally Crusader Strike, Avenger's Shield, and then turn around Divine Storm, and you're literally AoE blasting as a tank and paladin.
Was it fun?
Oh, it was so fun. It was nice too. Is like I said on the two bosses where I could literally off tank, or if I needed to drop because I had the stacks. Once the other tank taunts off me, I'm almost at a full mana bar. I'm sitting there just healing, because everybody's taking damage, especially that second boss with the bubbles. Everybody's getting hit. Everybody's blasting. I can sit there and just heal until my mana bar is completely out, taunt off one judgment down, and as I'm getting healed, I'm getting mana back.
Yeah.
If I took a step further and went with Crusader Strike, I'm getting even more mana back. So I feel like Paladin's down a really good path, and I think that's going to be a really hot class.
Well, it was. Yeah. Sorry, go Al.
I was going to say same thing. Like looking at the abilities, Paladins look amazing. Like I feel like this piece they got it all. Like Divine Storm and Crusader Strike. Like those are just something that every Paladin's always wanted, right? The Seal, Aegis. Like I feel like every single ability is super cool, and just like. I feel like Paladins really got hooked up. I think they're going to be a great class. And
that's what kind of gives me excitement, because I feel like if they can see how this works well, I feel like as we come along, we always know Warriors come on stronger later on. As we hit that 40 block, the 50, and the 60, with all the gear that we get, we already know where Warriors can stand. And then if you add a little bit of toys with that, I just see us going further.
It brought up an interesting topic that I've definitely seen all this chatter about like the holy shit paladins kind of conversation, and S-Van running that damage meter on his stream when the other streams didn't have damage meters certainly highlighted what paladins could do, because not only was he as a red paladin on top, like it wasn't particularly close. So that raised a lot of eyebrows. Then people saw all the runes and went like, holy shit, paladins look like they're going to be fucking beasts. My only concern about that is a lot of people are now, it started up sort of the paladin versus shaman conversation. And obviously this is, a faction-based game, and world PvP is being highlighted as a really deep, strong point of Season of Discovery. I really, really hope that, shaman turn out to be as equally as you can, powerful or holy shit. Like they've been given tanking, which is amazing. And if you hear the crowd's reaction to Shaman tanking during the presentation, it probably got the biggest cheer. It was fantastic. But I don't know if that in and of itself is a big enough sell to stop people clicking that alliance and that paladin button on character creation. So I do grow slightly concerned that it might skew interest in the alliance, but I really, really hope the team sort of, it's hard because you can't necessarily have something up your sleeve to fix that. I mean, everyone's going to yell at me that you can, but I'm just work with me here. But it's a shame that kind of Shaman might grow really strong later on, but we haven't Well, actually, that's unfair. Shamans seem really strong. Everyone's saying that Elemental can be a fucking nightmare, given that they've gotten Overload and all that stuff. So it's not like there's not cool shit for the Shaman, but yeah, everyone is buzzing about the Paladin. Does anyone have anything to say off of my ramblings just there?
Oh, I have plenty to say about that.
Hit me, hit me.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I feel like the things that Paladins got were cooler, and I mean, I feel like flat out stronger than what Shaman got. A lot of it also kind of are like party abilities as well, where more of the Shaman things are individual. Maybe that's on purpose. For example, like Seal of Martyrdom gives party members mana back. Like that's really good, right? As far as I know, there's nothing like that on the Shaman side, right? And Divine Sack, absolutely bananas cooldown. Like, I'm pretty sure that's the only reason my guild has killed anything in Wrath, is that we just roll Divine Sacks the whole time and like take significantly reduced damage from mechanics. Now it looks like to be only party wide, but it's really strong, right? And they also get kind of like totem abilities too, which obviously, like, those are really strong. They don't have to be like placed down. They just kind of always there, right? And so at least for me and some of the people that I talked to and been theory crafting with in Horde guilds, we're all kind of looking over there at those Paladins and feeling pretty jealous right now.
Anyone else on the Paladin Shaman sort of balance and what it might mean for faction balance moving forward on Season of Discovery?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zim.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I think Paladins are definitely, they were given a lot more, but they were also a lot worse in Classic. So it's time for the flip flop, I guess. That's kind of how I look at it. I mean, yeah, and Shaman's like, hey, you can actually tank now. Here you go. And then also Elemental, like, that'll be cool. It makes the specs viable and you still play them. I just think Paladins got more. But I also think that Paladins hurt for a longer time.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because Ret was pretty much unusable, and like prop Paladins didn't really have a space either, right? So,
but here's the problem now,
earlier,
and yet everyone still rolled one, even though they were shit.
Yeah,
because Paladin sells itself.
Yeah, so like I think that's a really good point, because instead of like nerfing things, they're like really raising the floor, so like they had to be raised more. So that's like a really good point.
Yeah, fair enough. Sorry, Rollo, did you have something on that?
This is only level 25. When we get to 40 and 50, I feel like Shaman has a lot more. Once they get a lot of gear and they get going, and who knows what all they're going to offer them, I feel like they're going to be. They may not match them at 25, but also with what I see Paladin has now, I'm not sure what else they can give them. So Paladin might hit that real high spike and go from there, and then maybe Shaman just, as you hit 40 and 50 and you get the new runes there, maybe they'll show up and show out. I
like that. They've got the higher ceiling.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, hell yeah, brother. All right. All right, guys. What was I going to say? Did we just talk about Rollo? Did we talk about what you played second? We did. That was the Prop Paladin. That's what sparked this whole conversation.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so just finishing up on Prop Paladin. It's one of those things where, I mean, they didn't really need a whole lot, in my opinion, from Classic. They needed a taunt. They needed slightly better mana. But now it sounds like they've gotten that and more. I feel like it's probably not just you. Like, a lot of people are going to want to play that Prop Paladin and have fun with it. So yeah, it sounds like thumbs up from you.
Absolutely. And also what's a great thing too is they're giving us time to level these up. And even as we go further, say we get up to 40, we start seeing some new, better things. With them giving the XP buff to like the previous patch or phase, whatever it is. So I'm imagining 1 through 25 will get an increased experience. I don't think it'll be very hard to level up something else if you want to have. Plus, I think we'll have enough time to level a few things. Because in a few weeks, getting to 25, you could easily get 4 or 5 characters. But I also think when you're talking about the DPS meter, I think it also, SVN plays Ret Paladin. Like, that's his. That's what he. And if you put anybody who knows the class, they know what to do, and you just add a little bit more tools with them, I think you're gonna have a big difference than people that are getting in trying. I mean, I watched people drown because they used the keyboard and they just couldn't get out of the water. Like, there's going to be a big difference for somebody who knows what to do, a longtime classic player, than people who are trying out and they're on the meters, you know, in comparison. But as fan with some other people, it may not be that big of a difference.
Ale, would you play third?
Third, I played Warlock tank.
Oh, baby, please talk to me. You were gushing about it before. Tell us what. I
don't even like. Yeah, I don't know how I can like this. It was amazing. It was the best out of any of them that I played. It was my favorite. I don't even know where to start. It felt great.
Let me lead you in. Like, tell me why, because like on paper, I look at what they gave it, and I do understand why people are saying like halfway. Where I'm kind of like, okay, they've got the one single target threat ability, the one like, you know, cleave threat ability, and a taunt. Like, it doesn't feel like they added too much. Like, how crispy or you know, how good could Warlock tanking feel? But then I start to think about, hey, I guess it would be kind of cool to like pull with a shadow bolt volley, or like, you know, fire off searing pains left, right, and center and whatnot. But you know, I haven't played it. You have. What did you actually do?
Well, the thing that I thought was so cool about that, and being, you know, a turbo min-maxer, was you have all those abilities, but you also have all your damaging abilities. So the entire time, like I said, I felt like I had a machine gun because I was dotting everything I could, and then when I was out of stuff to dot, I was just searing, painting, and like cleaving as much as I could, right? So I think there could be like a really high skill ceiling, or like, I mean, high APM ceiling on this, because you just always have something to do. And you have, I'm going to say infinite mana. That's obviously not the case. You have to life tap, but like, that's really interesting as well, because you can't just, you know, life tap your whole health away when bosses are hitting you, because you're going to die. So you have to be smart about it. There's a lot of play in there. That's super interesting. But yeah, basically being able to spam damage while tanking. I mean, that's the part that I love about playing Warrior as well. So I found that super fun. The threat seemed really good, even though it was only rank 1 searing pain. Everything felt good. They didn't really feel that squishy either. That was fine. Another really, really neat thing is that some of the abilities don't work if you don't have your pet. So you also have to have good pet management, which, you know, my only Warlock that I've played was 2 level 20 summoning bots. And, you know, I had to basically learn how to manage my pet health and things like that, because once that died, like, I think it was Life Drain I couldn't use, which was also instant cast, and you could cast while it was on, but only if you had your pet up. And one other ability, I can't remember which one. I felt like that had a lot of really interesting play too, because, you know, you'll have to manage your pet. You can't just let it die, right? So I felt like the class had a lot of play, and was really super cool. Like I said, it was my favorite class I played there, and I'm really looking forward to see what comes with it.
I've got a few questions. Did you say 2 level 20 bots? Did you mean summon bots?
Yeah, summon bots. Oh, that's just right. That's just what I call them. Like,
right.
Level 20 is when you can get the summoning ability. So you make a level 20 Warlock, and then you put it at, like, you know, a Songflower or something. And you only log in when you need to summon yourself to get the buff, right?
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Yeah. Mate, look, on the abilities, like, sorry, I'll take you back to the threat situation, because it's interesting that, you know, I picture you much more as a DPS aficionado, yet here you are trying three tank specs straight away on the demo. So you've gone, you know, Warrior, Prot Warrior, Feral Druid tank, and now Warlock tank. And on the last two, you described that, you know, your more stereotypical traditional tanks that classic players are used to. You described having massive issues with your threat. And then we get to the new tank, which, you know, people would presume might be still a work in progress. And the Warlock tank is the one that you said had fucking no dramas on threat, and you loved it. What gives? How is it different?
Like I said, I think a big part of it was that I was also spamming a lot of damage that wasn't a rage based requirement. You just need a mana bar, and you can get that back by life tapping. So there wasn't really a situation where like I was waiting to hit with my weapon, to get rage to use threat abilities. It was just literally every GCD I'm spamming damage or searing pain, or I'm life tapping to get mana back to just keep doing it. So I felt like there was just it felt so smooth and polished for level 25. It was weird. It was just it just felt incredible. Like if anything, maybe druids and warriors might need a little lifting because that did feel lacking. But I get like just for tanking, right, at that level. And also, like I said, that of course it might be a product of the people I was playing with because they're insanos, but
Right.
at least with Warlock, there wasn't any really problems with that. We were just blasting, and yeah,
Was
it was good.
Did you pick up the rune for Shadow Bolt Volley, whatever? Was that available?
Oh yeah,
What was the cooldown on it?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Did it feel good as
I think
an ability to use?
I think it was like maybe 10 seconds or something.
Okay.
It's it wasn't something you could spam. It definitely had.
Well, it's effectively
a,
chain
like,
Shadow Bolt, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you have to be in melee range to use it. The Shadow Cleave.
Oh, I thought they were different things. The Shadow Cleave and the Shadow Bolt Volley.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
So when you go into Metamorphosis, your Shadow Bolt becomes Shadow Cleave, but then there's another rune that instead of Metamorphosis, you can do Shadow Bolt Volley.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
On the gloves. Shadow Bolt Volley would have been your Shadow Bolt hits 5 targets with a chain instance of 10 yards, but 20 reduced damage. It doesn't say what the cooldown is.
Oh, okay, so yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. So is that not something that you would use while tanking? It's either or, kind of.
Yeah, either Metamorphosis on the gloves or Volley.
That makes more sense. Okay, I'm with you now.
That's what it was too. Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at it now. It's a 6-second cooldown for Shadow Cleave. Shadow Bolt becomes Shadow Cleave, and then everything else that was just said.
Oh, so you can't Shadow Bolt in Metamorphosis?
No.
Oh, I see. Oh, well, rip Shadow Bolt. Okay. I'm so intrigued by Warlock tanking. I look, it's funny because Ale, before I got your messages this morning, like I said, I've been like Druid, Warrior, Shaman, Druid, Warrior, Shaman. And I sort of was thinking about Warlock, but then I went, nah, every man and his dog is going to roll a fucking Warlock tank. I'm not going to give into the hype. And then you sent me your messages saying how fucking good it felt. And I was like, oh man, you're killing me. I'm going to have to bring it back into the possibilities.
Hell, just hearing him talk about it makes me want to go play it.
I know.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know. It felt so smooth. Felt great. I'm definitely gonna have an alt that I'll level beyond the summoning range for that. That's how much I liked it, and I've never played a Warlock ever besides that. So
the nine Warlock rated healer.
Hell yeah,
maybe yeah.
Oh man! All right. Anything else about the Warlock you want to say before we move on to the others, Ale?
Not really. They had a kind of like a tank cooldown and an AoE taunt as well. I'm trying to remember what the tank cooldown was called. Yeah, but those were really nice to have as well. Just like I wish I would have got to play Rogue and Shaman as well. Like I should have done all the tanks, but of the 3 that I played, it definitely felt the strongest, at least in like a really sweaty group.
No, I love it. Zim, would you play third?
Third, I just did a Frost Mage. I went with the safe route. I was going to do Healing Mage again, but somebody else wanted to do it, and I was like, go for it. So I did the DPS.
Hey, people have been asking about it in the Countdown Discord. They want to know if Old Faithful feels good in Season of Discovery. What'd you think?
It felt fine. I mean, Ice Lance was fun to have. Definitely, it feels like it was like, what is it? Like a nice little crossover between Wrath Mage and Classic Mage, at least the Frost side of the house. But I wish I would have played like Arcane, just something a little different. See if Arcane's an actual viable spec.
Fair enough. Anything of note rune wise that you loved or hated with the runes?
I mean, Ice Lance is one of the runes, and I think that was. Well, let me pull it back up because I haven't played Frost Mage since Classic. Yeah, Fingers of Frost. That was pretty cool. Basically, it's the rune for the chest, and 50% chance grants you with Fingers of Frost and treats your next 2 spells as if the target were frozen. And if you're specting it right, basically it increases your chance to critical strike or critical on those targets. So that was fun to play with. That's just like a passive one too. So you'll be casting, then it just pops on. You're like, oh, it procs. So having another proc is pretty dope.
Oh, good. Rollo, we'll get to you in a second. One quick question. I want to know about this one as well. From YouTube chat, AD's asking, did Warlock tanking still feel like you were playing Classic?
I mean, that's kind of tough for me to answer. I know there's been people on Reddit complaining about Metamorphosis, that it really stands out, and they would rather it like you like enslave the blueberry or something. But yeah, I don't know. That's hard for me to say because I've never really played Warlock, right? I don't really, I can't really answer that. I think I would need a Warlock main to do that. But like whatever it was, it felt great.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Rollo, let's get over to you, mate. What did you play next?
I had to go healer actually, and I don't heal, never healed, but we needed a healer, so I went with priest.
Oh, very good. Now, here's another class where it's probably really only the warrior and the priest. And I'm not saying this I'm not framing this in a negative aspect, but some of the early commentary has been, we're so bedazzled by all the lights and sirens of all the changes for these classes. And we're talking about Warlock tanks and all these fucking wild new runes and Ice Lance and all this fucking shit. And everyone's sort of looking at priest in particular, and like I said, a little bit of warrior, and going, they don't seem to have gone too nuts with the changes on this one. Did it feel that way when you play it? Was it more just souping up and making more powerful what we knew?
So it was fun being able to actually change the runes outside of combat. Like while we were in the raid, if I wanted to try something else out, I just switched them out. And I loved being able to do that because I was able to switch through a few different ones. Prayer of Mending was good, but I don't feel like it gave you enough, so it was almost worthless. Penance felt really good. Having that instant heal felt nice. Powered Barrier was really, really nice to be able to drop onto the tank or when everybody's stacked. At that point, when I was using those abilities, I didn't feel like I was level 25. I just felt like I was higher. They just didn't seem like something you'd have in the low levels, I guess. So from that standpoint, it felt fine. My only issue was obviously hoping the group would wait for the healers to drink up. That was the biggest grudge I had. But outside of that, it felt great.
All right, very good. And again, sorry, I'll stress for the 10th time this podcast, like obviously we're just talking about level 25. People, if you love Priest, play it. Do not let what you've seen deter you. I had a beer with Hunk last night, countdown to a classic favorite, and he said he's all in on Season of Discovery and he absolutely wants to play a priest. So, he's seen enough to convince him that he wants in. Rollo, in terms of, maybe healing that particular raid that you did, I know you just talked about it a fair bit there, but did you have any, dramas? Did you feel quite overpowered? Did it flow well? Was it fun?
It was fun. I did not feel overpowered at all. I was definitely chugging as many mana potions as I could on cooldown. I think someone had said during one of my runs that if you hit one of the bubbles on the second boss, you get mana, but it also hits you, which I didn't know. So it was actually challenging to trying to keep healing while completely going super fast. So it was actually a lot of fun. It was a good challenge, which again, to me, that's classic.
Well, I mean,
yeah, that was something my group struggled with too, is that we were really ooming by being expert gamers and not touching any bubbles. And so the boss was actually way harder than I found out today that the bubbles actually give mana back. I think they still hurt you a bit, but
yep, they do.
Yeah.
There's something with the shield. There's something with the shield popping. where someone was either saying don't hit the bubbles before the shield pops, like wait till the shield pops and then do it. But when the shield pops, it bounces you back. And I seen a couple people when they hit a bubble, I guess they got bounced to another one, and it would one shot them because they just bubbled a bubble and that's it, they're dead. And it's just trying to watch when that shield pops, like your back isn't to a bubble, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Very good. I definitely want to talk about sort of the encounters. Well, I mean, let's do it now on a tangent. We haven't really talked about the dungeon itself, and it's tough. I mean, I'm more than happy to discuss what you saw and felt in the demo. I guess everyone around the world would have been watching on streams and already starting to work out some of the mechanics. But so I guess it's like light spoiler alert if the guys talk about a couple of things on 2 or 3 of the bosses in this level up raid that is BFD. But Zim, I'll start with you, mate, and just say, like, how did the 10-man raid feel? And like, look, old dungeon, new feel, new look, new mobs, new bosses in a way, or redesigned bosses. Did you love it?
Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. But it felt like it felt like an actual raid. At least I thought. I thought it was tuned well. It felt like the first time you stepped in like Skolo, or not Skolo, when Skolo was a 10-man raid. It felt very similar to that. Just keeping in mind everything's level 25, 24, 26, 27, just in that range. And then you get to the first boss, and it's an actual boss. It's not like, oh yeah, it's a level 28. It's actual question mark boss. So I like the feel of it. It felt really good. Felt really clean. Going in there with 9 complete strangers, and going through it, it was difficult because you're learning the mechanics on the fly, which I think is part of makes it feel like classic because not everybody knows every single little thing about it.
Very good. You other guys, I got a Som vibe from what I saw from those encounters, where it was like, look, we're not going to go crazy with difficulty, but we're going to make it not quite as simple as you used to with Classic. Did you guys get the same vibe? Did you enjoy the mechanics of what you saw? How did you go with it?
Well, I didn't play Som, so I'm going to speak kind of out of my ass with this one, but I thought it was similar to like a 20-man raid in the mechanics. Like each boss had a couple. None of them were like super crazy. I didn't think it was anything that felt outside of Classic.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think the biggest thing is it just came down to awareness. All 3 bosses, if you basically had raid awareness, you would do fine. The first one, you just have to pay attention. If you have swirlies around you, you got in the water. And you notice a lot of, because like I said, I did this 7 times, a lot of groups, all they want to do is hit their buttons. They have all these new shiny abilities. They just want to spam them, not pay attention that they have a debuff. They go off and everybody gets knocked out. And if you just had the awareness, though, you notice the group moved a lot faster and better.
Alrighty.
We struggled to figure out the mechanics on the first boss. Well, believe it or not.
I think we finally figured out like run 3 or 4. But like the first, like I said, the first one we went through, it was me and Zim. We cleared it, and I was just like, "Oh, okay, we cleared it." That group felt good because the next 2 or 3 did not, and it was just like, okay, so there's a little more of a learning curve and stuff. But that's what you get with Pug, and that was fun. You don't want to go through and blast it. I was there to learn, but even by like the 3rd, 4th run, you'd hear people chatter and you pick up on things. So I was like, okay, and I enjoyed that.
I kind of wish I did a Pug because I think my experience is really skewed that it was all really sweaty raiders because I feel like we avoided the mechanics and just healed through them a bit. And like we killed the boss without actually knowing what the mechanic was, which is a problem. And we like talked about it and we couldn't figure it out, but we're like, I think because we abused the hunter so much with the big damage that like it didn't really matter. Which was pretty sad. I actually really regret not doing it with a Pug to see kind of a more balanced take that wasn't, super sweaty, ultra try hard.
Whoa. Wow. I never thought we'd get the day where you say you regret being sweaty. Mates,
yeah. Flip it and ship it.
Mates, did it give you what's the word I'm looking for? Did it hype you up for what's to come? Because I look at that and think, fuck, if that's as far as they've gone for level 25 content, and I think that's great to the extent that they've gone to completely redesign one 5-man dungeon and make it this whole new experience with a 10-man raid, that gets me significantly excited for, as things get more convoluted later down the track, the depths that they'll go to deliver new experiences to us.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
very excited.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that even like other raids, through the first 3 bosses, you could feel a progression where each one was. I felt like a little bit harder than the previous. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Learning the mechanic for the third one was quite interesting, especially as a tank.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Guys, I'll just get a listener in here. Sorry, Trill, I see you've had your hand up for a while. I'll just bring you in if you've got a question for the guys or a comment on something that they've said. Just go ahead and hit that button. You can accept. Trill, sorry, thanks for joining us, man. What did you want to add?
No, I was just curious. I ran the beta once. And I had a great time. I was wondering if you guys think that the on-the-fly swapping of the rune engravings took you a little bit out of the vanilla vibe, because that's been kind of. I went in, we pugged it, and our group actually struggled with it, which I loved that we got beat up, and that was like, hell yeah, man, this is vanilla. Like, we don't know what we're doing. Everyone's dying. Like, we're with these randos, they're freaking out. But just curious, kind of the takeaway was like the on-the-fly rune switching just felt a little retail-y. I'm curious what you guys think about that.
Go ahead,
Roll.
I was going to say I could definitely understand that and see that, and I think what they're trying to do, and I don't know, but I feel like they're trying to take away the punishment. They mentioned having dual spec, which and lowering the gold cost, which that's true and true classic. You have your one, and it just is what it is. You have to figure it out, and if you keep changing enough, it's super expensive. So I don't know if they're trying to take away some of that punishing, but like I said, with me going in as the priest, and I don't heal, I don't play priest at all. I play mostly melee, but in a demo scenario, being able to change it out and try different things, before certain fights, because I knew the fights that were coming up, and I was like, I think this one might work better. Being able to do that felt good. But like I said, to me, it was the environment, it was the pace of the game, and just with a bunch of different people, it just felt like classic to me, where retail to me is you literally just go nonstop, and no one loses mana, no one loses health, and it's just go, go, go. So I guess it depends on what you put your core thoughts into for what is classic, what's not classic.
As like a min-maxer, I'm very concerned about it, actually, because with this much variability, I'm worried that it's going to be the situation where you get to a boss and then everybody has to switch out all their stuff, and then you pull, right? Like, oh, for this one, I'm going to use this. Okay, everybody switch your things, everybody switches their things, and then you go to the boss. Like, personally, if I'm going to be, armchair dev, I think see, I haven't thought this through, but like, I feel like there should be some sort of restriction on it, because I think you should kind of stick with what you got for, like, I don't know, a raid or like an hour, or I don't know what. Like, I'm not a designer, right? But my big concern is, as someone who does, speedrunning and min-maxing, that it's just going to be, season of changing runes where, people are constantly doing that, or someone puts in the wrong one and then you wipe, and then I don't know. That is a real concern for me, Trill, and it's a really interesting point that you brought it up. I wouldn't be surprised if it was only like this because of the beta, and there might be more to it. I wonder how much, or sorry, not beta, the demo. I wonder how much of the demo was altered to make it a good experience for, the show floor. And that's why I said earlier is that my initial reaction was kind of bad, and a lot of that was because I felt like we had been given everything for free, and that I didn't get to experience the actual discovery portion, which is going to be big, right? So I wonder if there's something more to that as well. Personally, I hope there is, but we'll see.
Yeah, I guess practically speaking, we don't know what runes we're going to have by 25. So maybe that abundance of choice that we had in the beta was not really feasible. But I mean, yeah, what do you think, dude? Do you think that maybe you just lock it before, like you can swap once before the dungeon? Is that a viable solution for you?
I mean, like I said, I'm not a designer, so I'm not really
Put your
thinking of
designer
everything,
hat
so
on
it's
for one
tough to
second.
say.
We won't hold it against
Like,
you.
well, I mean,
I'll tell you what. I'll give you my stupid answer, and when you hear my answer,
I
you'll
would
work
lock it
out.
to a spec reset.
Oh, okay.
I think
I was going to say
that's my initial one. It's either that or like an hour or something.
I was
But like
thinking
then
a
an
time
hour
cooldown.
you can't change specs, right?
well, like basically a cooldown.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to throw out a dumb answer, and I don't even want this. I'm just saying it just like, literally the proverbial throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks. If for some reason you were against being able to swap these things willy-nilly, my suggestion would have been like, I don't know, put an NPC at the start of the dungeon and he gives you an item that lets you,
Boo.
gives you an item that gives you a 30-second buff that lets you change your runes, and then it's gone. You've spent it. I don't know. I'm just being dumb.
Yeah, like see, I'm already gonna walk my thing back of changing it on respec, because when you're doing a dungeon, maybe you want your shaman to be flexible and be able to off tank stuff. So you want him to be able to do that.
Yeah, they're doing it for a
Right.
reason.
So like those cases should probably be available with what they're doing, but like, I just don't want to change things for every like it's gonna get crazy if there's no cooldown, you just do whatever you want. Like people will literally change them every trash pull, right?
Yeah.
For every boss. And
I
things like
can't
that.
decide how I feel about it. I'm really on the fence about it as well, on how it's going to look in the hands of the classic player base.
I think the biggest thing is just we all have those groups where it literally just falls apart. You just have one or two people drop, and if there's a certain point where we can just finish just by swapping over from DPS to healer or healer to DPS, it kind of lets you not have to worry and sit there and wait or try to find somebody else for the next 20, 30 minutes.
True.
This feels like a slippery slope, boys. And Josh, like you always talk about on your podcast that you're the casual dude. I mean, you're my boy. I'm the same as you. I mean, I'm an idiot. I love playing video games. It's my escape. Obviously, the fact that I'm on your podcast right now shows that I'm not sweaty, right? I care enough about the game to have this much love for it, but I just feel like the on the fly stuff, man. Like I'm the casual guy, and even I'm like, dude, that's just too retailing for me. If you could be everything in a moment's notice, like you do kind of open up the floodgates of like, all right, what is your class identity if I'm a rogue tank on this pull, or just kidding, no, I'm not. It's like, I don't know.
I hear what you're saying.
You're a rogue player.
There was one other thing I wanted to touch on really quickly that you brought up that was super interesting that I hadn't even considered, and I don't know if anyone's considered yet. And you said that these runes that we saw might not be the 25 runes. And I don't know if they've confirmed anything about that or not.
Oh, like, yeah, whether
everybody's assuming they
fucking
are,
around
right?
for the demo, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's assuming they are, but I don't know if that's actually been confirmed or not.
A few of them seem very overpowered for that early in the game, because everyone was saying like, whoa. If these are the fucking level 25 runes, what the hell is coming next?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, because they said more to come.
Good stuff.
And also more gear availability.
Oh, okay. So maybe they are.
Shoulders. Yeah.
I'm going to assume they are real. I think they did confirm it. My position was
everyone in chat saying they've confirmed that's the 25.
Oh, they did. Okay, that's what I thought. But are they going to have it? Are they going to have it by, by then, right? By 25, is it feasible that you're going to have the collection of runes that we had in the beta?
Oh, I don't think so. I love that point. I love that point because I think obviously they've given you everything. Half of these fucking runes are going to be, like, I would imagine, reasonably hard to find. So, like, you might... the fun part of SOD for me so far is that you're going to have all these... Well, I guess people will just look it up, unfortunately. But, like, you'll have people running around where, like, the raid's been out for 2 weeks or whatever, or there are a few lockouts in, and they're like, fuck... I can't find that bloody, metamorphosis rune. It won't, I'm sure you get given metamorphosis, but you know what I mean. Like, there'll be something important they can't find that they spend the next couple of weeks running around trying to find.
Exactly. I think that goes into like the discovery part of it, right? And that's kind of what we were saying earlier. It's like you could have a guy who's like, hey, you're supposed to be our shaman tank. You don't have any of the shaman tanking runes. I guess cast lightning bolt? Question mark. You know, I think whatever you find might end up telling you what you're going to play until you do find the runes you need or want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if like I think some of them might be harder to find, but I think for the earlier ones they probably won't be. Like
No.
if they want to have Warlock tanks, like that one should be.
No, I agree. And they've said there's stuff they're going to basically give to you, and I would think the important stuff will fit the bill for that. Hey, Trill, what class did you play on the demo?
I played the Shaman, man.
Tank or
And,
DPS?
I was gonna tank, and then my buddy really wanted to run the Warlock tank, so I stepped aside. He's super, super passionate, and I was just stoked to be there. So I ran DPS just to kind of get a feel of what Enhance was gonna run.
Yeah.
And it's funny. So I spec'd into two-handed specialization first, and in the beta they automatically give you a weapon skill for everything except two hands. So for the first half of the dungeon, I'm like glancing blow, and I'm like, I'm an idiot. But then I ran the dual wield, and it felt pretty TBC.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, it felt good. It did feel good. I know people are bummed. They really want to have like the two-hand Wind Fury life, and we'll see what happens. But there's that one ability that's kind of like a, I don't know what you want to call it. It's like a cone of cold equivalent with like fire.
Yep.
It's like this
The
like
Molten
AoE
Blast.
cone.
Molten Blast.
That
yeah.
felt
Blast.
Yeah, that felt amazing. And I really do feel like it's a TBC Shaman kind of, but it does feel like vanilla. So I had a blast with it, and I think there's a lot of potential. I think I'm going to main a Shaman actually.
Did you switch to dual wield in the middle of the raid, or did you run in the second time?
No, I switched halfway through because I was just
okay.
doing no damage whatsoever, and I was going because I'm just spamming everything to get some damage out there. And it wasn't perfectly itemized. I think I had like an intellect stam main hand, and then an agi strength or off. I forget what it was, but once I was dual wielding, I was just pumping because I had the weapon skill.
Happy days.
I'm just curious about how we don't really have a whole lot of hit to get in these low levels.
Hey, who touched on? I'm just trying to think of what classes. Obviously, we haven't talked about. Ale. We don't have anyone. Well, wait, maybe Rolo. Did you try Hunter? You said.
Yeah, I did Hunter and Druid still, and then DPS Warrior.
All right, start me off with
Did
Hunter.
you do melee Hunter?
No.
What did you do? What did you play with your Hunter?
I went Beast.
How did it feel?
Felt good. Felt real good. The abilities they give you, you definitely feel the pet's stronger, fat, like earlier in the leveling. So 25 actually felt really good. I play a lot of Hunter and Classic anyways. But also the pet was able to hold up. It was able to tank the second boss quite well. If one of our tanks would die, like they get too many stacks, because we were trying to switch on 4, I think the number was. But if one would die on accident, it was nice being able to have your pet literally just turn on taunt, and they're actually to stay in place until the other tank would be able to run back. So having that, as I know it's another tank, but it was another option to where the group didn't wipe. So they felt really good. It felt nice.
Very good. Any like, what do you think of the rune abilities? Like, anything scream fun to you? Like, what new stuff did you take?
I'm looking at them right now. So I ran with Kill Command. So that was nice, and it was an extra ability to use, and it's actually for my pet, other than them just having Bite and Claw. And then running with Beast Mastery. So your pet's damage and health is increased by 30%, and its focus regeneration by 80%. So that was really nice. You could also, with your Growl, if you wanted to have it on, it was actually a 3-second taunt instead of just like a snap back. But you didn't have Growl on. Having the 80% regeneration on focus really let your pet go crazy, pretty much. So you're able to get a lot more bites, a lot more claws out, and really push your damage.
Mates, a lot of people are sort of looking at that one with the old stand still for 6 seconds and increase your crit chance by 30%. It's so funny because I was just watching the 2005 class panel a couple of days before BlizzCon, And Rob Pardo jumps up on stage and he's talking about how, like, oh, you know, we thought about giving hunters this ability to power themselves up if they stood still, but then we decided to can it because we didn't think it was very fun to just stand still on your hunter. Like, it's a very mobile class. But given with everything we've learned through Classic and, you know, hunters raid a certain way, I sort of understand now why they brought like a rune like that in and be like, you know, hey, for your PvE raiders, you know, this is your turret. You know, this will be the fun times where the hunter's like, I'm going to stand in the fucking fire and the healer better heal me because I am blasting. I think it's a fun one to include. There's some really fun ones with the hunter, and Lone Wolf is one that everyone is pointing to as well.
Yeah, we ended up doing a speed run where we used as many hunters as we could. I think it was like 6 or something. I'm not sure. And they all went Lone Wolf. The one where you stand still and get 30% crit chance and Chimera Shot. And we cleared the whole thing in like 12 minutes. We also stacked like armor debuffs and stuff. So I think I can't remember if I was talking to...
It's their exposed weakness, right? Which is super powerful too.
What's that?
The hunters get an exposed weakness as well, don't they? Which is super powerful.
Yeah, that's going to be insane as you get higher. Your range criticals increase your attack power by 40%
That's
of your
right, of
current
your
agility
yeah.
for 7 seconds. But the higher level you get, that's just going to get so strong.
I think that conflicts with the build that we were running, so they didn't have that.
Yeah, it'd have been on chest.
Yeah, but I bumped into someone after and I mentioned to them and they're like, yeah, we might have to look at the data for that because that seems like it was too good.
There you go. You guys already blew up hunters.
We might have.
Yeah, everyone can thank Onslaught for that one. There you go.
But it was fun. I mean, 12 minutes was like zooming, so that's what we like to do.
Rip the November 2020. You'll never forget that weekend in November where hunters were fucking on top.
Yeah.
What else?
I don't really. One thing I want to touch on that as well is that like hunters kind of needed elevating as well. So I'd be like, I hope they don't get like super nerfed, or like they can do it in such a way that they're still strong in the end game, but like lower the ceiling on it right now. You know?
Yeah, they were always super strong early, like especially like PvP and stuff. But as you got higher level, they started to come down a bit.
Right.
Hey, Zim, did you play anything else that we haven't touched on yet?
No, just DPS Mage and then Arms War.
Too easy. Rollo, what did you said you did Feral as well, right? Oh, Resto, sorry. How was it?
Resto Druid felt really good. The Wild Growth, the AoE, I really liked it. I didn't like I didn't have control of exactly like who was all getting the AoE heal. Mana felt great. Heals felt really good. Try and check the exact rune. Oh, Life Bloom. Life Bloom was really nice having that. But I felt like the mana cost was really high. I felt like versus the Priest, I was going a lot faster. But again, like when we were doing just trash, I was able to just up a couple hots, go cat, and just DPS. But the raid bosses was where I felt uncomfortable. One, I'm not used to healing, but also I felt like the Druids went really, really fast. The good thing was, their Spear and the Mana 5, they were able to get mana back pretty smoothly. But overall, that was definitely a concern. I was actually kind of wondering if I should downrank at 25, but I just didn't have the time to look into it.
And did you say you tried Feral as well?
No, did not get to go Feral.
It
was Arms Warrior.
All good. How was Arms? You and Zim, what do you think of Arms? You talked about it already, yeah, or not?
Yeah. So I went into it with was it flagellation or whatever?
Flagellation, yeah.
At the start, and it felt awful.
Yeah,
it felt absolutely awful. And then I changed over to Warbringer. I was like, okay, this feels great. It just felt really rage starved for a while, but as soon as I got Warbringer, I just bounced from ad to ad, mod to mob, and it felt a lot better. And also went dual wield over two-handing.
Too easy. Yeah, Flagellation looks like a fucking lot of fun. There's actually a few warrior ones that I'm like, ooh, baby. Rollo, how'd you go with it?
Arms Warrior felt really good. The two-handed speed increase felt great. The blood that gave you rage, I felt like even though the mob wasn't hitting me, I still felt like I had plenty of rage. Quick Strike felt good to use, but Heroic Strike just does so much more damage. And I know it's a rage loss, but I pretty much would, try and put rend on everything, use Quick Strike, And then once I got a lot of rage going, I'd try to spam heroic strike just because it was hitting like 4 times as hard. So like heroic strike was I think crit for like 248, where I think quick strike maybe it was critting like 88 to 100. So I definitely felt the difference between the two, but it felt good to be able to hit something that wasn't Sunder armor.
You know what's
Did he try? Sorry, Josh. Did he try endless rage over quick strike at all?
No, I just went with quick strike. How did that feel?
Endless rage was. I did that. I switched. And endless rage, like I was never hurting for rage at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
So maybe quick strike baited me.
You know what I find interesting? No one tried rogue, I think, right?
No.
There you go. And
they're gonna be interesting in the world PvP because if they get
the range
that
stun.
one ability that does like the kidney strike.
Yeah, the kidney stun. The ranged kidney shot.
Yeah. Well, they get that before. I think they get kidney shot at 26. I think it is. So I think they get this before they even get kidney shot.
That's right. Yeah. Rogues, people are salivating over rogue PvP, but it'll be interesting. It will be very interesting. So all you rogue aficionados, I apologize we weren't able to touch on a viewpoint on rogues, but look, I'm sure we'll have more to talk about with them. I mean, is anyone here intrigued by the concept of rogue tanking?
Oh, I certainly am. I'll be checking it out once it comes out, in 24 days.
I like the idea of it.
Very good. Look, guys, we might sort of wind up on the classes there. Thanks so much. Like, I guess I just asked, one final question in relation to that, and then I wanted to just cover off quickly on BlizzCon for 10 minutes before I've got to run. But, from the demo, and you all played it relatively extensively, did this make you more excited for the product that was announced?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we all said that right off the rip. We were a little like, okay, it's not what we expected, right? A little hesitant about it. And then after playing it, I'm all in on it.
I am as well. I'm all in. I know somebody asked about the drops, the green drops or just your normal level range green drops. The blue drops from the bosses, since they're new, those were pretty cool to see. I think like the first boss dropped shoulders that gave you like +8 stam. I think what I was wearing was like +4. So it's nice to be able to see another area to get more drops, and they're new. So it's nice to see just new items.
Hale? Oh, Trill. Sorry, Trill.
Sorry, yeah. I don't know if you want to jump in.
No, you go, Trill. Don't worry about him.
No, I mean, look, criticism aside, boys, we're getting content for a 20-year-old game. Like, it's absurd. It's crazy. And so it's got me pumping. Like, Blizzard, for all that's good and all that's bad, like, we're getting stuff. And I just think that the community is doing a great job getting pumped and getting stoked for something that's, going to be exciting and new. And, with new comes change, and change is scary, and you realize that changes are okay. And we're doing BFD to 10 million 20 years later. So, yeah, beta got me pumped, and it was fun, and, 30 years is going to be awesome.
All right, Ale, bring us home.
Yeah, I'm super stoked as well, especially with what we saw in the demo and what Tim Jones spoiled in his preview. Whatever those were, Nomer or Scarlet or whatever, right?
Like Karazhan.
Yeah, like that's. I'm tingling just thinking about it. It's like it's awesome. I can't wait. I'm all in. I was really skeptical, being a whiny classic purist, and they sold me. And also, I managed to bump into a few people at the Hilton after, and I think this is in really good hands. They are so passionate about it. I think we have a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, and I'll segue into our final point based off of what you just said. So that's kind of the demo chat. But look, I think that's big coming from you as well, Ale, because like you said, look, there are some what our people are referring to as classic purists out there that are unhappy, and you are a classic purist and you've been won over. So I hope that more of the people that are particularly salty right now might, I'm not having a go at them for being upset. Like I've said on my chat with North the other day, people aren't wrong for being upset if they really just wanted more vanilla. But hopefully more of them, maybe come along this ride with us and sort of go, oh, fine, I'll give it a try and hopefully enjoy it. So we'll see where that leads us. But I want to go on a bit of an extended rant right now. Just give me 5 minutes, guys, to go on a monologue, and I want to hear what you think about what I've got to say, because you were there, and it's far more important probably to hear this from you, but I'm giving the outsider's perspective of the panel and what we saw at BlizzCon. And I probably will go a bit quicker on this than I intend to, but I just want to say the following. This is going to sound like I've really got my tongue like surgically implanted, fucking on the butt of Blizzard when I say this in the Classic team. But, in thinking back on it, Countdown to Classic started as a show that really was far more open to criticism and moments of pessimism maybe than I realized. And this show has not been shy of criticizing Blizzard where criticism is due. And so I was reflecting over the last couple of days on sort of how far this Classic team has come to win me over a bit more, and maybe some of you listening to the show, where I was reminiscing about the years that we really spent for 2 to 3 years there of Classic with this faceless, nameless Classic team. And I, on a very regular basis, fucking tore them to shreds on this very show and said, I can't understand how a company this large has not come to the reasonable business decision to start throwing names and faces out there and becoming a bit more like on board with the Classic player base and leaning into the we're one of you kind of thing that might make some of their announcements and thought processes a bit more, palatable to the Classic player base. And it really felt cold and icy for so long. And then we get this thing that happened on the weekend at BlizzCon. And look, I won't go into it too much because I didn't watch all of it and I don't want to speak out of school, but I really feel like I'm not saying this as a Classic Andy. The whole of BlizzCon, all the announcements and all the other games fell very flat for me. I don't think this was a particularly wild BlizzCon. Even I was predicting that it was going to be bonkers. Like, oh my God, BlizzCon's back, baby. They're going to have all the fucking announcements. They actually didn't have that many. But the Classic team fucking hit it out of the park. And like I said, I rewatched that panel last night for a second time and a third time. And when the camera shoots the crowd and you pan over how many people are sitting in there and they're fucking on the edge of their seat, there's electricity in the air, all the Classic team members come out, the crowd is interacting with them. Like I said, you could almost catch the Classic team being a little bit caught off by the tangible optimism in the crowd. And they were like, yeah, all right, they're really on board with this. This is great. Every single person that came out on that stage was just on fire. And like I said, I don't want to be sound to be like, kissing ass too much, but fuck, man. Like I always say, the moral of the sort of mantra of the show is you've got to give credit where it's due, or else your criticism means nothing. They all, came out and held that crowd in the fucking palm of their hands. And, just it wasn't awkward public speaking. Everyone was confident. Everyone was good. And the selection of information to be given to us was on point. And, parts of that comes from people you don't see on the stage, people like Clay and whatnot, who helped build this presentation. So I just kind of want to say, and we'll hear from you guys that were there, because I want to know what it was like sitting in that crowd. I really want to say that the Classic team has come so far, and yes, they are not, immune from criticism going forward. This doesn't mean you'll never hear me say anything bad about a decision that the Classic team makes, but I'm really stoked for them for having this brilliant moment. They must have had a wild night afterwards celebrating what was, in my opinion, their day and their BlizzCon. So kudos to them. Look, I probably had 10 more minutes on that, but I'll spare you guys. Let me hear what you guys thought on that rant. Did you feel that in the moment being in the crowd?
I felt it big time. We went super early because we wanted to get front row seats. And we actually got front row seats in the Overwatch panel when it was halfway done. And the building was probably only about half full for the Overwatch panel. And as soon as it was getting closer, it was almost like a sellout in there. I actually took a picture because I couldn't believe that the upper bowl was filling up. It was insane. Like this was a BlizzCon for Warcraft, and in my opinion, for Classic,
Yeah.
because the amount of demand for the demo, the way that building filled up, it was amazing.
Anyone else on that one sitting in that crowd? Zim?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got in there maybe like 15, 20 minutes left of the Overwatch demo, and yeah, it was pretty sparse in there. Like there was open seats everywhere you looked. Then as it got closer and closer to actually kicking off the classic, panel, it just filled up. And like look around, it's like, oh, okay, there's way more people in here than I thought. And I would definitely agree that this was a BlizzCon for WoW Classic and WoW overall.
I'll add this before I forget it, Rollo. I'll throw it to you. Look, some people might think this is heresy, and I was really excited for what Metzen was going to do. I was very, very pumped. Mate, no disrespect to Metzen, but as far as I'm concerned, the Classic team fucking put him to shame. I think that's where the fire and the passion was, and it felt like an old school BlizzCon panel, and they brought that real fucking fire, and like, we're gamers like you, we play alongside you. And it was just fun. It wasn't dry, it wasn't like cold, it was fun. Anyway, Rollo, what do you think?
So comparing the opening ceremony to the panel, I feel like the panel was, I almost feel like the panel was more people than the opening ceremony, because to the right and to the left, where the seats started to almost go behind the stage, definitely on the panel, those seats were almost completely full. Where in the opening ceremony, it was a little bit less. So I was surprised to see that there was more attention there for Warcraft just in general. And then I think the Classic team was probably hesitant because they probably weren't saying the words Classic Plus, that they're going to get booed. But I think they realized, we appreciate what they're doing, and we're all ready just to keep moving forward.
Fair enough. Trill, how about you, man? What was your thoughts on being there?
Dude, it was great energy. I mean, I hadn't been to a BlizzCon in 13 years. The last time I went to was 2010. So I kind of went in really not knowing what to expect, and I actually had to work Friday. So I got to BlizzCon like minutes before the panel, and I didn't really know what I was getting into. I met my boys there who had been there all day, and it was funny, man. It's like, I'm 31. We've been playing this game our whole lives. We've all, I'm sure, told ourselves we were going to quit multiple times. And the atmosphere was electric. I had to get seats in the top, like the nosebleeds, because it was so full. And like the guys behind me were even hyper than me. Like when they even announced like Crusader Strike. I don't know if you guys heard that during the panel. They were just screaming. They're like, "Fucking Crusader, baby!" It was just like, we're at like a rock show, and it's World of Warcraft. So yeah, that panel head and shoulders above anything that we saw the entire BlizzCon.
Good stuff. Well, look, guys, I've got to run. I think that's a good note to go out on. I'm glad you had such a fucking whale of a time at BlizzCon. It looked like a lot of fun. Look, we're going to talk a lot of Season of Discovery over the next few days and weeks here on this podcast. So thanks so much for being here and contributing and being a part of why people do come to Countdown. And, they seek out opinions such as yours. And you guys are the best, and I can't thank you enough. So we'll say our goodbyes. Ale, mate, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You're the best, mate.
I don't have anything to add to that. I agree.
Very good. Very good. Zim, mate, thank you so much. It was great to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was a hell of a, it was the first BlizzCon I've ever been to, and it was a hell of one to go to. I'll say that.
That's the way. Look, it probably won't be the last time I talk to you guys. I'm sure we'll bring up some classes in the next few days that you might want to jump in on as well. Rollo, mate, thank you so much. It worked out well. You just being in the crowd, we dragged you in, and you were great. Thanks so much, mate.
Thank you very much.
And Trill, same thing, mate. Trill, let me just say, nothing pleases me more than the fact that I can just, pull in people from the crowd and say, "Hey, man, you got a question?" And you've joined the chat seamlessly. You've been fun. You've had great thoughts, and I just want to say thank you so much. It really is like, this show is what it is because of listeners like you.
Dude, you are the man. Thankful for you. So I appreciate you having me. I'm going to stick around.
It was a pleasure, mate. All right, guys, I'm going to end the stream there. Enjoy the VOD on YouTube, and I'll chat to these guys off stream for 2 seconds. Thanks so much, everyone. We shall talk to you in a bit.